Hi, friends. Today we're talking about the poster boys of chaos, the Black Legion. And straight up, these guys and Abaddon are really cool. And if you don't think so, you gotta read less memes. Which also might seem heretical coming from Acadia simps such as myself. But you know what they say you're only as good as your villain. So let's talk about the largest force of Space Marines and one of the biggest, if not the biggest, threats of the Imperium, the Black Legion. The Black Legion was forged from the remnants of the Sons of Horus, and any warrior willing to follow Abaddon the Despoiler's path of vengeance and destruction. And while the Black Legion is technically a successor of the Sons of Horus, they're more their own thing and hardly share anything with the Sons of Horus in the present time. Which is also why I'm going to make a separate Sons of Horus video somewhere down the line. But before that, allow me a moment to talk about today's sponsor. Tabletop Stronghold is back to sponsor today's video. And if you don't know, Tabletop Stronghold makes some awesome MDF cases and terrain. Their signature Mag Case 2.0 is super tough, spacious, and convenient with its removable steel tray system. Each case comes with a set of removable steel trays and magnets to put on your miniatures to keep your lovingly painted, or perhaps lovingly waiting to be painted, mini safe and secure. It's also super easy to swap out trays depending on what minis you need to bring. And even better, there's 3 different sizes to tailor to your needs. From the Mag Case Mini to the Mag Case Mega, all your mini carrying needs are met. And they've also got some cool MDF terrain. Their terrain set has everything you need for a game of 40k or other games if you want some cool gothic terrain. The terrain set was made with competitive layouts in mind, but can of course be used in casual games. It also comes with a lot of cool details to, well, detail your set to your liking. And if you want both of these, there's a great Mag Case terrain bundle at a nice discount. And there's also a Labor Day sale active right now, so you can get an even further discount. So check out the link in the description today and get up to 30% on select items for a Labor Day discount. And as always, there's free shipping to the US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and most of the EU. So be sure to check out Tabletop Stronghold for some awesome mini cases and MDF terrain. Huge thanks to Tabletop Stronghold for supporting the channel. But anyways, at the Siege of Terra, after Horus was destroyed by the Emperor, the Sons of Horus fell into disarray and were utterly demoralized by the death of their Primarch. So they routed and abandoned the other Chaos Legions present at the battle to be crushed by the Loyalist forces. And after retreating to the warp, recovering Horus' corpse, and recouping on the dead world of Malium, the Sons of Horus would conduct raids against the Imperium to get revenge and attempt to reassert themselves as the leaders of the traitors. Additionally, the remaining traitor forces would soon fall to anarchy and break into disparate warbands, beginning the Legion Wars, where they would fight each other in the warp for dominance, supplies, and just for the funsies. And in this time, the first captain of the Sons of Horus, Abaddon, would abandon his legion, mourning the death of his father, and was disgusted by what the once powerful legions had become. So, Abaddon wandered the Eye of Terror, learning more about the nature of chaos and deciding what he wanted to do in his life. So he's like 80% of people after graduating. Meanwhile, the remaining Sons of Horus were getting whittled down by demonic hordes, rival warband raids, and rampant possessions. Then, one day, the Emperor's children, headed by Fabius Bile, sieged the Sons of Horus' fortress and stole the corpse of Horus. This raid left the Sons of Horus near annihilation and demoralized with the loss of their daddy's corpse. They began fighting each other in their angst, and many had little murder tantrums. And to make matters worse, Fabius Bile attempted to make ghoulish clones of Horus to aid the forces of Slanesh. All the while, Abaddon observed the Sons of Horus' pitiful defeat and pathetic tantrums. He returned to his legion, sickened by their decline, and he spent days in Horus' tomb. And his mourning turned to hatred as he realized Horus' failures and arrogance led to the pathetic state that his legion was wallowing in. So, Abaddon killed all the remaining Sons of Horus captains and commanded the legionnaires to swear fealty to him and only him. Few resisted Abaddon's dominions, and those who did were hunted down and brutally killed. And so, with his legion mostly reunified, Abaddon paid the Emperor's children a little visit. He killed all the failed Horus clones on his trail to finding Bile until he finally came across the prime Horus clone, the one closest to the true Horus. Abaddon killed the soulless mockery of his Primarch and declared that he was no longer his son. And with the death of the clone came the death of the sons of Horus, and from its remains, Abaddon would forge the Black Legion. Abaddon was just as disgusted with the other traitor legions' declines as he was with his former legions, and even more so, he was disgusted with many of the traitor Primarchs giving into chaos and falling to demonhood. Abaddon felt that falling to the temptations of chaos was to become a slave to them, and that was his father's folly. So he took it upon himself to unify the traitor forces once more to succeed where Horus had failed. Abaddon would destroy the Imperium and gain dominion of humanity at all costs. But first, he would need to build his Black Legion. Abaddon carved a bloody warpath against all who opposed him, and the conquests that he waged gained him infamy across the Imperium and the Warp. And through inspiration, fear, respect, or all of the above, more and more warriors across the warp joined Abaddon's Black Legion. Rival warlords would fall to Abaddon's claw, slaves cowered before him, and demons and beasts joined his ranks to satiate their bloodlust. Marines from across the legions would scorch their armor black and swear loyalty to Abaddon. And despite his growing ranks, Abaddon knew that truly united chaos was a fool's errand, but he sought to at least direct their endless slaughter towards his goals of ruin. He accepted all warriors as long as they swore allegiance to him, and he allowed the annexed warbands freedom to pursue their own conquest as long as it brought pain to the Imperium. Although technically one legion, the Black Legion is more like an alliance between many warbands. They often fight apart from one another, sowing chaos in their own ways, and although they mostly fight independently, they still swear complete allegiance to Abaddon. Abaddon has also got an inner circle of trusted generals to help him assert his dominion over the huge legion. But despite all that, sometimes, on very special occasions, they join hand in hand for a very special Black Crusade. The Black Crusades are usually humongous chaos attacks where Abaddon manages to rein in the majority of his legion for a mostly focused campaign. Thus far, there have been 13, and each set out to complete a step of Abaddon's evil master scheme. And here, it might be a good spot to talk about something very important. A lot of people like to clown on Abaddon and his Black Crusades. Even I'm guilty of it since, it's fun to make fun of your guy's main enemy. But each Black Crusade is a legitimately apocalyptic level threat to the Imperium, and Abaddon is actually quite a cool character and a competent enemy. Heresy, I know. How could Mr. Cadia Simp say such things? But as I said before, you're only as good as your villain, and if the Cadian's arch nemesis was a armless wet noodle with a small wiener, that last part may be true because, he's a space marine, then they aren't really that badass for fending him off for 10,000 years. Unfortunately, Abaddon suffers hard from meme lore. And I get it, most people are Imperial players because Imperium is the best, and it's fun to make fun of your rival faction. But too many people don't realize that these jokes and teases are just that, jokes. And Abaddon is legitimately terrifying and one of the few Chaos leaders whose whole legion isn't completely stupid pilled into constant Starscream-esque backstabbing and infighting. Like, they're still kinda stupid, don't get me wrong, but they're just not completely stupid. In addition, Abaddon is a legitimately interesting fella. He abhors Chaos corruption and is the only character in the setting to actually utilize Chaos's powers without selling his soul. At least for now. But he doesn't do this with ease. He has to constantly pull strings and remain vigilant to the temptations of Chaos. Like in the Fall of Cadia, he had to constantly keep tabs on his forces to make sure he wasn't pleasing any one god too much. He would constantly alter his war plans to keep the respective gods at bay. He is also somewhat of a tragic figure because despite all his efforts and rage, he's still destined to wage an endless war, as is the nature of the 40k setting. I'm just saying, it's okay to not like Abaddon for whatever reason, but if you think he's a useless buffoon, you're just objectively wrong lore-wise. He is always treated like a walking apocalypse in universe. He is widely feared by his enemies and is the leader of the largest unified force of chaos, which, for a thing called chaos, is no small feat. Also, the only reason we, quote, only see him lose, which isn't even true, is because we've only ever seen the climax of his attacks where he's foiled after destroying a shitload of his enemies. It's like the Tyranid effect. They'll completely destroy a ton of worlds, but we'll only see the battle where they're finally stopped. Abaddon going around crushing a ton of worlds simply isn't a good narrative for a novel. But all that being said, fuck Abaddon, he's an armless jerk and destroyed my favorite planet. It shouldn't die a baby dumb. Anyways though, back to the Black Legion, one of the coolest aspects to me is the fact that it's a conglomeration of the forces of chaos. This means you can soup marines from a wide variety of legions, as well as non-marine forces like demons and mutants into a single army. I don't know if 10th edition killed this or not, but even so, the point still stands is you still have a ton of homebrew freedom. They're kind of like a huge chaos death watch, taking marines from a bunch of legions, painting their armor black, and kicking ass. Expanding on the union of various chaos forces though, each one of the main traitor legions has a warband within the Black Legion. The Hounds of Abaddon are former world eaters, Children of Torment are Emperor's children, Bringers of Decay are Death Guard, and the Sons of the Cyclops are, of course, Thousand Sons. Furthermore, he utilizes specialists of other legions such as Iron Warrior Warpsmiths, Wordbearer Possessed, and Alpha Legion Infiltrators. Also, funnily enough, there was a pretty prominent warband of the Dark Angels Fallen called the Lost Lions. I just thought that was interesting because, we're Dark Angels, we're totally lions. And currently the Black Legion are doing what they do, sowing chaos, gathering warriors and artifacts, and fighting whoever comes in their way. Notably, Abaddon forged, pun intended, an alliance with Vashtor and led his Arcs of Omen campaign. But anyways, that's pretty much all I gotta say for today. And I quite like the Black Legion. They're a great catch-all villain legion, are probably my third favorite after the World Eaters and Thousand Sons. I'll just always really like the idea of an army made up of a bunch of legions working together. For example, I really like Miniscape's Chaos Force. All the different legions looked real cool together. And here, look how cool they look in Codex Eye of Terror. Ooh, it just makes you want to get a bunch of overpriced, out-of-production models. And overall, like I said, I think they get too much hate. Like, Abaddon isn't my favorite character, but he's a cool villain and his legion is fun. And honestly, it's probably mostly people hating on poster boy factions, which I suppose is somewhat understandable, if not misguided. But let me know what you think of the Black Legion and why you hate Abaddon the Despoiler. I'm gonna make some separate videos for Abaddon, the Sons of Horus, and probably even the Black Crusades in the future, but for now, that's been the Black Legion. And don't forget to check out my link in the description to visit Tabletop Stronghold and get some awesome mini cases and MDF terrain. And thank you for watching, and big thanks to the patrons who support the channel. You're all very epic. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing to all your angry world-eating buddies. Thanks. Also, Ezekiel Abaddon almost sounds like Easy Kyle, especially when people mispronounce it, which sounds like some kind of cool cowboy dude who drinks whiskey and likes to party or something.